Hey folks, welcome back for another presentation. Today we'll be talking about study tips. I'm Alia and I am here with
Tyler.
Awesome. And we just thought this would be a good time of the year to be talking about this. Midterms are kind of over and finals will soon be upon us.
Yeah, it's always good to have some solid tips, with which to know what study habits are best for you and, what make it easier for you to learn and retain information, especially when you have to recall stuff for an exam or other stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. So now we're going to kind of talk about study skills. Like, why does this even matter? Well, first of all, you kind of want to optimize and aim for greater success in your learning. And maybe learning stresses you out. And by having a method that can kind of ease some of the stress and frustration that comes along with studying, it can help you retain your information faster and memorize it for longer periods of time. It could also just help you better in just like your overall academic success and make it that you're more prepared for other assignments. And it can also help improve your time management, your time management and note taking strategies. So I would say first, get organized. You need to know what you need to know. So get understanding of what materials that you're actually going to study, uh, and what subjects and what things that are you required to learn. And gather your materials. Maybe you need your textbook, paper, pens, your lecture notes, and maybe other outside sources. So gather that all up, know what you need before you get started, and know your due dates. Know when you have that exam coming up, or that test, or that assignment. And to do so, maybe using a calendar, a planner, or a to-do list will really just really help. I love using my planner. And allocate time to do these things. It's kind of hard to put in study time when you don't give yourself adequate enough time to actually do the work. And I'll also throw out there, if you have a planner, if you want to try using a planner, get one that you actually like. Go ahead and get the pretty one because then you'll actually be incentivized to use it.
Another thing to take into consideration in terms of your study habits is your environment. Where you learn, that space that you're in. It's always important to recognize if there's going to be a lot of distractions where you're studying, where you are. You need to make sure there's not going to be things that are going to be keeping your mind away from what you need to be focusing on when it comes to studying, and just being on track of on top of all your assignments and everything you need to do. So what might work for you might not work as well for someone else, but if you find yourself able to focus the best, like in a place where it's very quiet and you're not going to have a lot of other noises, seeping in on what you're focusing on, then that's what you might want to strive for. And someone else who might need a little bit of background noise, in order to find it easier to focus on things, they might choose an environment that's more likely to have that sort of stimuli for them. An example of this might be like the library, where there's multiple levels of noise expected and allowed on different levels. Like it ranges from like, social gathering type noise in the background to like complete silence. So there's just many different environments to consider when it comes to that. And you also might like being in different positions when you're studying, and just, those are just a lot of things you might want to consider when you're picking a place to study. And being outside or inside, that might be another factor for you as well. And when you are studying, it's probably a good idea not to just study for like 10 hours straight, because you might find yourself kind of worn out and drained by the end of it, and you might not retain all the information. So it might be better to just do it in chunks or segments throughout the day, or just as specifically scheduled time. So it's good to take breaks every so often, if you need to like get some food or drink in you, or just to kind of take your mind off it for a little bit so you can get back to it and focus. And you might also consider doing small walks or some form of exercise in between. It might also help your energy levels as well. And also, like, if you learn your information like in a classroom setting or wherever you happen to learn the information, it seems that it works better for you to also like take an exam or study in that same environment, and it might make it more easy for you to retain the information. So, well, let's see. Or did we skip one? Okay. Okay. Now, learning styles. There are many different learning styles that people might have, and there's ones that might be more uh, suited for you as opposed to others. And these include visual, auditory, kinesthetic, reading, writing, and I'm sure it's probably others, but those are like the main ones. And it's just like whatever form of information that you take in, whatever allows you to hold on to it or remember it better. It's something you'll have to experiment with and figure out, through experience and trial and error, what works best for you in terms of recall and just being able to more easily remember things that you've learned and studied. So it's just something you might want to try out. And it might not just be one thing, there might be many different styles that you find helpful for you. And it might depend on the subject matter or whatever, but it's just a good idea to try out different methods for learning and seeing what works best for you.
So there's lots of different ways to learn. There's kind of this whole thing of mnemonics. So it's learning techniques to help better retrieve information. And a good example of this would be, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally for the order of operations in math, parentheses, exponents, or Roy G. Biv to remember the order of the rainbow colors. And here's another interesting one that's maybe not just words, it's a visual aid. You can kind of know a African elephant from an Asian elephant by looking at their ear. Their ears kind of look like the shapes of the continents. Oh, there's that.
Yeah, I
But
never learned that one. That's
yeah,
interesting.
it's a mnemonic. There it is. And you might also learn through visual aids such as graphs, charts, flashcards, videos, or you're someone that likes to highlight and color code their notes, or teach someone else. That's a really great way to try to help figure out what you do and don't know, and also learn it better. Teach a friend, teach a parent. Studying in chunks of information is also really beneficial. So maybe allot 20 minutes of time to use that, and then maybe take a 5-minute break, come back to it for another 20 minutes, and maybe take a 5-minute little recall moment. So just chunk it out. Also, if information is presented to you in a way that really isn't compatible with your learning style and how you learn, try to change it up to be in your style. If you're a real big visual learner and it's really just spoken heavy, just put it back into your style.
Mhm.
Sorry, it's really loud near me. And then some pitfalls of studying. Don't rely on studying the night before. It may work sometimes, but it shouldn't be what you rely on all the time. You might find you come across something that's really difficult and wish that, oh gosh, I should have studied for a couple more hours. And not knowing what you need to study. Having clear parameters lets you prioritize what you need to know. Don't spend time learning things that you later realize were not on the test at all. And then trying to learn when you don't feel good. That is always a terrible situation to be in. If you're sick, hungry, or frustrated, upset, harder to memorize anything. So get a study snack going, take a 20-minute nap if necessary, and do some little things to help calm yourself down so you're in a better headspace. And I cannot emphasize enough, not getting enough sleep is a giant pitfall for just life. Sleep is so important. Without sleep, it's really hard to just memorize anything or encode in new information into your head. And you just won't be able to remember when you're studying. So you might spend more time studying, but also during your exam, you're just not going to memorize things as easily. And then I would say forgetting you needed to study. If you forget you had an exam, it's kind of hard to study for it beforehand. So I will definitely throw those out there at you.
Mhm. And in terms of like things you might have trouble with, you need to check in with, if you think that things aren't working for you the way you're trying them out, it's always a good idea if what you're currently trying out in terms of studying and learning isn't working for you, it's not sticking, and it's not making a lot of sense, then you might want to change what you're currently trying to do if it's not working until you find something that does work better for you. If you're in one environment and you're finding it distracting or it's hard for you to learn or study, then maybe try out a different one. And well, it's just, did it change again? What? I thought we were at a different slide just now.
Yep, sorry, it shouldn't have done that.
No, it's fine. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure, Sarah could probably edit this somehow. Do you think I should go over these ones again? Or do you think it's just,
Just keep going.
oh, all right. So yeah, trying out different environments if the one you're currently in isn't suiting you, that's something you might want to consider. And you might find that different learning styles might be more suited for you when it comes to specific subjects or topics. So if you find that, maybe, visual learning, works better for you in one subject, and auditory learning or some other type of learning style works better for you in another, then it's something to keep in mind when you're going from one subject or class to another, orienting your learning style for whatever suits you for that specific thing is something that might be beneficial. And, procrastinating, that might be a factor that might lead people to not studying until the night before cramming, or maybe they just don't have a lot of time, or time management might be, an issue. Then it's a good idea to assess that and try to see if there's a way you could figure out what's causing that and see what you might need to change or try out in your life in order to make it so you're less likely to procrastinate, because that's what might lead to cramming, and it's not really the best method for studying. You might not recall all that information because it's a lot to absorb and store into long-term memory in a short period of time. So some stuff might get lost in the mix. And also, another thing that kind of ties into time management is multitasking, because if you feel like you don't have enough time to do something, then you might find yourself trying to do multiple things at the same time. But then you won't really be doing either of those things effectively, whatever you're trying to do simultaneously, because you're not putting all of your attention on it. So if possible, it will probably benefit you to focus on one thing at a time. So that way, that you're putting all of your energy and focus into it, and it's not going to, I guess, it's not going to. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. I
You're
don't
just not going to put all your information in one kind of basket, all your time,
Yeah, it'll be,
Mm,
you might mix stuff up, and you might, kind of like mix the two things together, and it might not come out the way you wanted to. But yeah, multitasking is not really possible anyway, at least in your brain. It might seem like you're multitasking, but you're just kind of rapidly switching between tasks, and it's just really hard to organize information when it's just going back and forth constantly. So it's not very effective. Okay. Now, in general, these are kind of like a little bit of summary, but some extra stuff in here as well. But, if you find a group of people that are like-minded or are trying to do the same thing as you in terms of studying, like you got the same topic or same class, or you just, find a good group of people that will keep you focused and not distracted, then that might be an option that might help you. If you feel like you're not able to effectively motivate yourself, maybe another group of people would help you motivate to study better. It just depends on what works for you. Again, like if you study in the same type of environment that you initially learn information and you study it there, and potentially even take your exam there. You might find yourself recalling information better because, yeah, I guess you might contextualize or visualize, when you initially receive the information, it might kind of click in your memory where you kind of conceptualize, the context of it all. And, this might be more helpful for you when you're actually trying to remember it the way it was presented to you. And if you're feeling like you're a little overwhelmed or stressed out, you're probably not going to be able to utilize your brain in a way that's going to make it so you're studying effectively. So in those cases, it might be best for you to take a nap or a break or have a snack and kind of take some deep breaths and just try to, make sure you're feeling a bit less stressed, when you're studying. Although, if you're cramming, then that might not be possible, but it's just best to try to avoid that whenever you can. So whatever techniques, learning styles, studying habits work best for you, allow you to remember stuff the most effectively, those are the things you might want to gravitate toward. What, works for some people, might not be like a one size fits all type of thing. It's not something that it's going to work for everyone. Everyone's going to be different in the way that they study and what works best for them. So just find out what, methods and techniques work for you the most and not what other people do, unless that works for you too. It just depends. And in general, when you're taking notes, it has been found in like studies and such that if you write out your notes by hand, like with pen, pencil, paper, that sort of thing, you seem to, in general, people seem to recall information easier or remember stuff better, when they write it out by hand versus typing. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but it just seems to be what is supported by the research. And, just try to, I guess, not take it so seriously that you don't really feel like a purpose or sense of enjoyment in what you're doing when it comes to studying. It might not be fun, but there might be ways you can kind of make it into a game or make it fun in whatever way suits you. So you'll probably be more motivated to continue studying and learning if you find it somewhat enjoyable. So whatever you can do to trick yourself into thinking it's fun or make it fun, that might be what you might want to do versus something that you might find boring and as a result might not be motivated to continue studying because you don't enjoy it. And if you need help, it's never a bad idea to ask for help. There's plenty of free available resources all over campus, and it's always a good idea to reach out to those when you feel like you're not able to effectively learn or study on your own.
Which leads us right into some resources right on our campus that could help you. You can, if your class has it, supplemental instructors can be so beneficial. Like, please go to their little groups and meet up and discuss. They can really boost not only what you're learning, but your actual grade in the class. Talk to your professors, go to their office hours, really engage them because they can be such a good resource for helping you figure out a class. I'll also say tutoring when it's available for your course, and ask your classmates. You might just be stumped on something, but that might be easy for someone else. They might be able to explain it to you. And I also want to throw out some other departments that may be able to help if you are having a little bit like bigger issues about studying, such as test anxiety. Reach out to CAPS, Counseling Psychological Services. They can help discuss that with you if you have a lot of test or exam anxiety. And also disability accessibility services. If you do have have a disability, talk to them about getting accommodated.
And if you are experiencing anything, mental health related, such as test or exam anxiety or anything else for that matter, you can always reach out, go to CAPS at any time. It's completely free and available to you. You just go up there, there's the address, their phone number, and they have a crisis line as well. Like if you're having an emergency, you can call that anytime. And also their email address is provided there as well. So these are all very important resources for you to utilize whenever you need them. And it's just something that, if you really need help with something, please, reach out and get the help you need. It's always there for you.
Yep. Thanks for joining us and have a nice day.
See ya.